Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today, we're going to be talking about what does DBD do great that keeps it on top? What is DBD's niche that keeps people coming back even though the game is often plagued with a slew of issues, both in terms of community appeasement and just mechanically not being able to work? I think what DBD does best and why DBD is able to sustain itself for such a long period of time is the fact that DBD is a celebration of horror. It is a celebration of horror movies and horror games and the genre as a whole, and it gives us aspects of these IPs and ideas that don't exist, whether that be for one reason or another. If you really think about it, there's a lot of horror games being made right now. And the only one from DBD, the only IP that's in DBD that kind of has something going on with that, at least currently, is Capcom's Resident Evil, where they obviously just made Resident Evil 8 and are already working on Resident Evil 9. They have a lot of stuff going on. They are pumping out full-length, awesome games with that. There's a whole lot of games also in the genre that are being made into full-length experiences, like Frictional Games is making Amnesia Rebirth, they made Soma, and there's also the indie scene that's making a lot of fun indie horror games. I'm not looking at you, Poppy's Playtime, you NFT shoveling garbage. You do not count as a fun indie horror game. This is sort of like a tribute to these characters, because for one reason or another, whether it be licensing, a lack of interest in video games, a lot of these characters don't have a game to call their own. There's never been a full-length experience that puts you in the shoes of a survivor trying to escape the grasp of Michael Myers stalking from the Halloween series. There is not an immersive horror game experience out there that is like being a victim of Michael Myers in his films. Same thing with Freddy Krueger. There's no game on the market, and never has been, and probably won't ever will be, a game that is immersive and puts you in the experience of what it's like to be facing off against Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And this comes down to all the aspects that make these characters too, in terms of like fighting the dream self and all that wonderful stuff, like things that make this series the series. Now I know Bubba is getting his own 4v1 horror game later in the year, but I think personally that the 4v1 as a format is more of just like a party game that you play with your friends. It doesn't really capture the essence of like what it's like to be in those films. And I do think that counts also for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. I don't think a 4v1 format really I don't think an ASIM really covers the feelings of what it's like to be almost captured and eaten by cannibals and just narrowly escape your certain doom. I don't really think that I don't think that counts. I don't think that really fits. But what DBD does do correctly is they put enough of that character's personality into the way that they play that it feels just like a little sprinkle, just a little bit of what it's like to be within that film, whether that be through the perspective of the killer or the perspective of the survivor. It puts just a little bit of immersion, just a tiny bit, just enough to make you feel like you got that feeling of, oh wow, that's kind of like the movie I like a lot. Whether that be Myers stalking, Freddy's reliance on people being inside of a dream world, Bubba hunting you down with a chainsaw. Like, they add these little things, especially when you come to perfectly executed characters like Pinhead and Sadako, who basically almost entirely act like their movie counterparts and translate themselves very well into the format. It gives you that feeling of, hey, I'm getting to enjoy this movie, this IP, in a way that I haven't been able to enjoy it, especially with, movies like Hellraiser, where they continue to make movies, but they're all kind of bad besides like a few of them. They haven't, like, Hellraiser has not made a good movie in forever. So but like this character, the Pinhead in this game, has been more based on his first appearance, and therefore feels like the true Pinhead and feels like a threat again, and feels like when you play him, you're getting a taste of that, which is really, really remarkable for somebody who may like Hellraiser, who's just like, man, they just keep putting out these garbage straight-to-DVD movies that are really, really bad. This feels like I'm playing Pinhead from Hellraiser 1. Thank God. I mean, even think about, like, Freddy's position. Think about Freddy's position. His last movie was 12 years ago. His last film was 12 years ago in 2010 with the awful remake that bombed. If you want to enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street in any way, in any sort of recent manner, there's no way to do that. It has no content. Like, this IP has not put out content in 12 years. Freddy in Dead by Daylight is the only way to kind of like itch that scratch of, if you really, really like Nightmare on Elm Street and you want something to interact in a very recent, way with the Nightmare on Elm Street IP. But essentially, there's no way to celebrate these horror characters because they're not getting their own games, and only some of them are getting their own movies. Like, there was a long time that Myers was in DBD but not receiving his own movies. Thankfully, they're making more Halloween movies, which are very fantastic. I like Halloween 2018 a lot. I think it's my favorite sequel. Halloween Kills is all right, but it's not like bad. But and the jury is out on Halloween Ends, because that comes out later this year. But it's the way to enjoy these characters. It is a tribute to them that ticks enough boxes that you're getting to enjoy them, because there's not really going to be a full experience, like a full horror game dedicated to them, and in some of them they're not even getting movies. So you still get this ability to enjoy them and interact with them and celebrate the cool things about these IPs and the genre as a whole, whereas a lot of these other things out in the world have been kind of left by the wayside and been forgotten. This is the place we can come to if we like Pinhead, if we like Freddy, if we like Pig from the Saw series. Like, we can go in there and kind of get that taste, get that little sprinkle, get that little yay. We got a little bit of that. I celebrated how much I liked this IP today. And I feel like that's one of the things that keeps this game going very, very strongly, is that ability to celebrate horror in all of its aspects, whether it be games, movies, etc. It is a celebration, it is a tribute to the genre as a whole. And even though the game has its flaws, it is still, at the end of the day, a respectful tribute to the horror games, characters, etc. that we love so much. And I think that's one of the things that will make it endure, is the fact that it does do that respectful tribute and allows us to celebrate these characters that we have loved for such a long time. But yeah, that's it for this one, friends. Do you think that DBD does a good job of implementing its IPs, or do you think they could do a lot better job? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, friends. I do upload daily, so hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. But other than that, I will see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.